Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey, Peter. That didn't do good for my throat. Sorry.
Oh.
Here we go. A little water helps. So we're on episode number 281. 281.
Mm-hmm.
And today's episode is called Creative Real Estate Deal Structuring Math. 1 + 1 = 10.
Ooh.
A little bit of Bill math there, eh?
Oh, that's the kind of math we all need.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when we're talking about money, right?
Yep.
All right, here's the description. One of the sad truths about our time and profession is that our sellers do not always believe the truth when we tell them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which means any good creative real estate entrepreneur has to have a believability reflex along with seller interest to get sizable amounts of deals done. Makes sense, right?
Bill, does having this face help?
Yeah, there you go.
Oops.
In mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2. Never more. But if you do as we talk about in this special podcast, you can soon learn how we add certain types of emotion to our deals so they 10x the impact of our offers and 10x the chances of the seller saying yes to our very generous offers. And I don't mean they're generous like with money. They're just generous with benefit.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's more than money. People don't
Yeah.
always realize that until they see somebody that has another story.
That's right.
Yeah.
What you're about to hear on this podcast is extremely unique to what about 99% of all real estate people actually do. And if you employ this stuff right away, you will soon notice deals falling into your lap. How to find friends and loyalty from your actions. How to stop sellers from saying no. How to present your ideas to sellers so you get automatic acceptance. And most important, how to handle objections and seller rebuttals. In fact, at the end of the day, how to make anybody like you. Plus, if you don't think this podcast information isn't exceptional, I'll stop the roller coaster and you can get off the ride right now.
Hey, Bill, I have one question about people liking you.
Yeah.
Does that apply to wives?
Yeah, sure. Peter, you're in trouble. If yours doesn't like you by now, you're in deep shit, dude.
Oh, man. They do good most of the time.
You guys have been married a long time, right?
Yeah, that's called too long.
Yeah.
TWO.
All right, so just a little bit of housework here. Make sure you go subscribe to us wherever you're watching us. We usually record somewhere in the vicinity of 9:30 Thursday mornings, Eastern Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook, and we answer questions. Speaking of, Junior just says, hi, how are you, JR or Junior, whichever way you say it. Welcome to the podcast, man. So what happens is if you go on to Facebook or onto YouTube and you just type in Flipping Houses for Rookies, you will find all of our videos. They're all archived there. All the podcasts are there. You can listen to us. If you're listening to us on a podcast platform, make sure you like us and subscribe to us. We do a podcast every week. They're supposed to be 45 minutes. We tend to go about an hour, and they're very informative. We're tickling 1.5 million downloads, Peter. So we've been around a little bit. We got a lot of people that listen to us, which is awesome. I appreciate the support. Also, wherever you're watching us or listening to us, if you go into the description, there's a link there. Today's link, every week it changes. Today's link is a link to doing a 45-minute free consultation with me. It's mostly so you and I could figure out your blueprint on how you're going to do real estate. It is not a sales pitch. It is just I do about 4 or 5 of them a week if I have the appointments, and which is most weeks. And it's between the podcast and the monthly meetup, which I do once a month, which is free, and my free consultations. That's what I consider giving back for an industry that has given me an amazing life. Mm. I mean, this is. I was ill in September, and didn't work for 6 weeks. It is now December, and I just took another 5 weeks off to go away to do something I wanted to do. So that's what I mean, that this industry is, and I'm still in the same position I was before. So it is amazing. So that's what I'm talking about.
It even works on rookies. I took 2.5 months off this summer.
Yep.
Figure that.
Exactly right. All right, good. So let's get going with today's podcast. So here's how it started in my head. How do you make 1 or 2 real estate offers work 10 times harder with your seller than 99% of all other offers presented to that seller? Mm. Right? So it's kind of like inertia. Inertia is, something's really hard to get started, but once it gets started, it just goes on its own. Kind of like the old, snowball down the hill. It starts as a little snowball in your hand, and by the time it gets to the bottom, just apropos to the season. I mean, if you watch The Grinch, it's perfect because the Grinch has that happen. The snowball that goes down the hill. By the time it gets to the bottom, it crashes into the city.
Yeah.
Right? And like I said, in the math of our deal structuring, which I will tell you that this is a little bit of an irritation for me.
What's that?
Personally, is people tend to think they're too logical and too analytical about deal structuring. And they think it's all about the math, right? So the math in the deal structuring is always, like I said, 1 + 1 = 2, and it's never more. And if you just concentrate just on the math and the deal structuring, it's like, I don't even know how to give you an example.
Bill, it's like figuring out the exact right price to sell hamburgers, but your audience are vegan.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you're just way off. I mean, you're trying to buy a house in North America, and your prices and your offers like you're in South America. I mean, it's just way off. Now, I don't want to be too critical here, because there are a lot of people that have made a lot of money, millions of dollars, doing just that. But I will tell you that my first realization of what I'm talking about was many years ago when I read Kiyosaki's book. And he openly, was the first time I've ever heard anybody say this, he openly said that he has to look at somewhere around 100 deals before he can make an offer. It wasn't even that before he could buy something, it was before he can make an offer.
Oh, geez. That's a lot.
That's what I remember. So even if it's make a deal, it's still a lot. 100, look at 100 deals to make one transaction, even if it is that way, if I've got it wrong. That's a lot. That is the mathematical process.
Geez, that's like looking for the one that's already right for you. It's already there,
right,
sitting there. And that's half luck, because if anybody stumbles on that, they'd buy it. Gee.
And to your point, it's half luck. Economies change that. So up markets and down markets and all that stuff affect the mathematics. Okay. But what if I told you there was more to deal structuring than the math, right? And this other thing is your believability reflex that almost 100% of all sellers use to make decisions when selling property. Right? In fact, this one technique is a procedure that gets better and better as you use it. Okay. In fact, think of it this way. Like somebody playing golf, or think they want to learn how to play golf.
Yeah.
Right. when he first swings a club, he almost likely feels awkward.
Sure.
Right? If he's cautious, or he'll feel awkward. What I'm trying to say is he's cautious of every muscle in his arms and his legs when he first swings the club.
Yeah, he's thinking about everything.
Yeah, it's like too detailed, right?
Yeah.
But he keeps swinging through one bucket of balls, then two bucket of balls, and then three bucket of balls, and so on and so on. And pretty soon, those arms and leg muscles are going to feel comfortable while swinging the club.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the most important part. You'll lose your conscious awareness of swinging that club. The more you do it, you'll lose your conscious awareness of swinging that club. To a point of what was mechanism before is now intuitive. A new kind of intuitive, though. Far more skillful and effective than you had before. This is the kind of intuitions you should strive to build within yourself.
And doesn't it help somebody focus on the real thing, like the ball getting in the hole?
Yeah.
You know, making your target rather than yourself.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things we talk about in goal setting is to have real goals. You know, stretchingly realistic. But like, suppose you have a goal. Jim Camp talks about it in his book called No. It's a great book, right? So we'll probably be doing some of that stuff at the beginning of the year when it's New Year's resolutions and stuff. But you know, like you're on a diet, you say, well, I want to lose 50 pounds. That's a great goal. Yeah, blah, 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 right? All that stuff. But how about if you did this? How about if you made a goal that you like get up at, instead of getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you touched your toes 3 times. Right? For a week. Or, you know, anything like that. You know, just manageable goals that are just a little stretchingly realistic for you.
Yeah.
And it changes things. Okay. We're off on a tangent here. So, by the way, how much better and quicker do you think you could get intuitions like we're talking about today with a coach?
Oh, definitely. You know,
I mean, Tiger Woods is one of the best golf players in the world, and he still has a coach.
Yeah.
Right.
I have you coach me. I have people in my private life, my personal things, like, hey, I want some advice on some stuff. What should I read? Here's what's going on. What do you think I could do? You know, people who've been successful. Like, what do you think? Then I coach people musically as an instructor, but I also coach things too in a way.
Right.
Sure. Why not?
So, you know, I get a lot in my coaching group, you know, like, well, you know, they'll ask me about coaching and I'll tell them how it works, which, by the way, my coaching group is no longer a coaching group. It's actually an apprentice group. We actually have software. You, as a coaching client or an apprentice person, you're actually in there working on my deals. You know, you're texting or you're doing opening calls or closing calls or you're making offers as if it was your own deals, and you're making, and they're real life people and they're real life deals, and everything is exactly the way I do it in my regular business. And it's amazing what's happening there.
It's crazy. It's what people keep asking. Can I go with you when you go in a house and watch what you do? They want to see what you do. And this is it. They're actually doing it.
Yeah. So every week you get an assignment, or certain people, not everybody in the coaching group, but we assign who's the texter this week, and then who's their backup, who's making open calls, who's making closing calls. And of course, I have all the write-ups, you know, the scripts and how you do it, the job descriptions, and everything is fully described. Plus, we have a WhatsApp group. So if you need help during the week, the whole team is there. You're working on a team. The whole team is there to help you. Yeah. They'll back you up. They'll go into the software. They'll help you. It's like I don't know of anybody on planet Earth that's doing what I'm doing.
No. And for the realistic, Bill, and for the real chickens who are afraid to do any of that stuff, they get to watch people do it. They
Yep.
can see,
Yep.
they can hear all the conversations, hear the sellers, hear us on the phone, and
Right.
see all the text, what the answers are, and how they handle until they get the idea of like, oh, it's not that bad, and just start doing it.
Everything's recorded, so you can hear the recorded messages. All the offers are in the software, so you can just go in there and click on them and see how we made the offers. It is incredible, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just saying that if you want to be a Tiger Wood or Woods, whatever his name is, you have to practice. You have to swing the golf club. There is no way around it. You have to swing the golf club.
Yeah.
And so many people come into whatever profession thinking that they're going to study up and they're going to read and watch videos, especially this business. And that's all good in the beginning, but I think it's better off to know nothing when you get started and actually go out and figure out. That's why I came up with the reluctant buyer kit, which is the most misunderstood thing that I have because people don't know what a reluctant buyer is. When in fact you're going out and talking to sellers and you're being the reluctant buyer. You're not trying to buy their property. You're just trying to learn how they respond. It has nothing to do. It's like swinging the golf club.
Yeah, see, the opposite of the begging buyer.
Yeah. So all right. So let's get down to business. What I'm alluding to so heavily today is your offers producing emotions. Believable feelings. How do you do this? How do you make believable feelings? And here's something that's very odd. I thought it was very odd when I learned this, Peter. I learned it years ago, but I've circled around back to it in my old age. It's one word.
Really?
Vision. It's interesting to me, and I'll tell you what happened to me. I'll tell you because, I mean, you and I could talk about this for hours, I'm sure, right? So, mental image pictures.
Yeah.
It is incredible to me how your mind, not your brain, your mind stores mental image pictures. Everything you do is a facsimile in your mind. Every time you bump your knee, every time you take a step, every time you breathe, all of that stuff.
It's all there.
Yeah, it's all there, right? So what happens is you store these pictures. Well, here's what happened to me. So I know this, and I've read. There's a couple books I read. What was it?
Psycho-cybernetics?
Psycho-cybernetics with Maltz. Yep, that was one of them. L. Ron Hubbard wrote Dianetics. That's very extensive, but it definitely shows how the mind works.
Yeah.
That's
the one I read.
Books, yeah,
I didn't read Psycho. I didn't read the Psycho one. I've heard you talk about it. I haven't read that, but I definitely.
That's an amazing book. That was written in the early 1900s. That was an amazing book. They both
are back.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, early 1900s. So, anyways, here's what happens. So I kind of have this concept, and this is what I believe in. And then I was doing some research on some copywriting stuff because I'm getting ready to do some launch with some stuff. And I ran into this copywriting that the guy was talking about memory. He sold a book on how to improve your memory. So me being me, I went and I did some research and I found the book, a used copy of it on eBay.
Yeah.
So I read the book. I've only read about half of it at this point because I had to go away, but it's all about mental image pictures. It's how you put them in your head. It's not so what happens is as human beings, we automatically, because it's such a, we don't know what's happening. It's so common. It's
automatic.
It's like a fish in water. They don't even know there's water there. They have no idea they're in water because they've never been outside of the water. They don't know there's anything else.
Yep.
So like you said, it's always there. You're taking pictures right now. You're recording all this in your mind right now. And it's not just, the six senses, sight, sound, tactics, all that. There's, your emotions, and there's a whole bunch of, there's actually over 50 perceptics.
Yeah. Temperature, time of the day, humidity,
atmospheric pressure, all that stuff, right? So,
emotion.
and your mind is, Yeah, your mind absorbs all that, right?
Yeah.
So vision. So you can control vision.
You mean like a person's vision?
Well, what other vision is there?
Well, I mean, there's actual vision, like seeing, like visio, or hearing and sight. But you're talking like a person's vision, what they're thinking. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, mental image pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So you can control those pictures.
Oh, like what a person is seeing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right. And vision best represents, and this is my little saying here, and vision is best represented as a story that people can relate to.
Yeah. Great artists do that in their songs. Think about it.
Yep.
As a musician, I look at some other artists and say, why do I keep listening for decades? And you put a song on and you can see images, you can see what they're talking about, and you can envision it in your own way. And that's part of art. So there's an art to what you're saying.
Yeah. And to your point, it's like, I mean, I'm going to be a guy, and the girls can hang up on me if they want, but they do it too. So they just don't like to talk about it. But it's like, your first sexual experience was very emotional, right? Or a sexual experience is very emotional, and there's music playing. So every time you hear that song, what sensation do you get?
Yeah, you could, sure.
Or vice versa. You're in a car accident and the radio's on and a certain song is on, and then it plays later. What reaction do you get?
Yeah, or your favorite song with the last girlfriend that ended terribly. That song comes up, not good.
Yeah. So that's the power of vision. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And when I mean vision, I'm talking about mental image pictures.
The whole package.
Yeah. Right.
Got it. Okay.
So let me explain. The first rule in every word, the first rule of making an offer, okay, is every word, sentence, paragraph, story that comes out of your mouth must have some emotional impact. Now, I would like to define dramatic and drama, because that's what most people will think when they hear that sentence. At least I do anyways. It has to have an emotional impact. So drama is a peaked or heightened emotion that usually doesn't fit the situation. Like laughing hysterical at a funeral. Wrong emotion.
Yeah.
It's a heightened emotion, especially if you're, laughing hysterical. You're like overdoing the laugh.
Yeah.
And drama is usually done for an effect, so people want to like have some effect created. Now, I'm not going to get into this now, but I'm going to tell you that, this is profound, this podcast. I was, again, doing some studying with some copywriting stuff. I was reading a book that I bought. It was expensive, $600 or $800. It was a used book from the 50s. Now, I've spent a lot of money. You know me. I like copywriting. That's how I'm going to end my life. I'm going to be a direct mail order guy. Yeah. Right. That's how I want to retire. And it's going to be direct mail to build my association. I want to create an investors association just like the realtors have, except the right way. Right. So that's my plan. So I read a lot of this. Is what I do on my spare time. Right. So I couldn't believe, in fact, I had to have a 2-hour coaching call with my coach, because I was like, what the hell? How did I miss this? So this guy was talking about when you're writing copy. His name is Eugene Schwartz, by the way. When you're writing copy, okay, it's very important that you take in consideration what people want others to see them as.
Wow. Others to see them as.
Yeah. What? So when you say be, do, have, it's like you're being, to have, you have to do, and to do, you have to be. So what are you being that you want other people to see you as?
Sure.
Are you being a doctor and you want them to see you as a doctor? Or are you being a real estate person and you want them to see you as being a real estate person? And that went deep, man. That went really deep in Bill Hawthorne's universe. It's still there. I'm still gnawing at it, right?
No, it's true. Any one of us, like, think of all the people that know you. What do you think they think of you? And if they think you're an idiot or you're wonderful or you're a jerk or you're great, they like you, don't like you, that's a lot. That's important.
Right. So just to be profound on that, because again, it sounds chauvinistic, and I don't mean it to be that way, but I mean, I think I could talk to any guy out there, and it would be like you're going to a party, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long do you wait for your wife to get ready, or your girlfriend? Why is that? It's how they want people to see them at the party.
Yeah.
What do the other girls think of her? Or that, for that fact, what the guys think of her?
Yeah, you wonder which they're more concerned about. Probably the girls, the competition.
Whatever. But that's what I'm talking about, right? So this is kind of like it's an offbeat of what I wanted to talk about today, but it's kind of the same thing. So we're going to talk about that later on. I have some new materials that I'm working on that I'm going to come out with that I think is way different than anybody else ever did. You and I talked about it the other night, and this is kind of like a prelude to that. All this, how to make other people like you, right? Yeah. And this is all part of that. And it doesn't need to be profound, but it's like underlying everything that we do. It's like nobody talks about this because I don't think you see it. It's like the fish being in the water. It's like, what water?
Yeah. No, we talked about this years ago when you first started coaching. Some of the guys, we'd listen to them on the phone, and they sounded kind of angry and pushy and like not friendly. I'm thinking, oh my God, right. I don't even want to talk to them.
Right.
I mean, just that, even before anything fancy that you might come up with today, just no, you don't want to talk to somebody like that. It's over. I mean, you answer the phone. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christmas.
Yeah.
No.
So when I say the first rule is every word, sentence, paragraph, or story, you have to like have an emotional impact. It's not just I'll give you $30,000 or $300,000 for your house.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
That's not the 10x rule like Grant Cardone says, the 10x rule, right? I'm not trying to steal his stuff here, but it's not. You're not going to get 10 times the impact.
Yeah.
Doing it that way, right? And you can only do this by getting in the middle of the person's conversation they're having in their head already. They're already having a conversation about selling this house.
Yeah, they already have something going on in their head. Of course.
So you need to get in the middle of that conversation. So the natural law here, the thing that's like the basic rule is this. You ready?
Ready.
2 emotional images joined together in the right way will most often have 10 times the impact than either of those images by themselves.
Holy moly.
So I'm going to repeat that, and then I'm going to give you an example, okay? So two emotional images joined together in the right way will most often have 10 times the impact that either of these images had themselves. Now, I worry about doing podcasts like this because this is profound stuff. This is not regular real estate, okay? But if you get what I'm saying here, you could change your life, okay? Now, let me give you an example.
Yeah, example, please.
2 examples. Selling quickly, getting their price.
Okay.
If you talk to a seller about selling quickly and not about the price, if you're talking to a seller about selling quickly, they automatically think that they have to have a fire sale where they're significantly selling at a reduced price.
Right. Big discount.
They think that they got to get a discount.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sorry, I've got to turn over pages here. On the other hand, the seller that's stuck on price, they normally have to wait or add time to it to get their price because they're looking for someone to agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
yeah,
so we'll leave it at that. So, they're looking for someone to get agreement with them. Actually, I'm going to come back to it. So what is, when you call somebody up, do they want to sell you their house? No. They do not want to sell you their house. What they want you to do is give them an offer. They want to see if you and them are on the same page. They got a $200,000 house and they think you're an investor. They automatically think that you are going to offer them $100,000.
Yeah.
because that's what the wholesalers have done. They've ruined the business. You know, they've spoiled all these these sellers' attitudes towards us.
Yeah.
Because they're offering them pennies on the dollar, right? So what they want is an offer. They want to see, you know, is he close? So he wants to offer 170. I could maybe work with that. Let me see if I can get him up to 180.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking for an offer first. So if you go out sequence with that, then you're going to lose them right away. But what I'm talking about now is, you know, so they think because of this other thing we're talking about, they think that because they want, you know, if they want price, they're going to have to get, you know, they're going to have to wait. And if they want, need to sell quickly, they're going to have to get a discount.
Yeah.
If you think of those individually. Now, these are the conversation already in their head, and these are the images they're looking at, right?
That's what they're thinking.
Right. But if we put these two images together in the seller's head, we would get, you can sell quickly and get top dollar by selling to us and then give them your offer.
I'm glad you said that, because I asked somebody that the other day. They said both. I'm thinking, oh crap. I'm thinking pick one. But so we can sell quickly and give top dollar.
Yeah. I mean, think of our owner finance deal.
Of course.
You know, the house is worth $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
You can offer them $250,000.
Sure.
If you get to pick the terms.
Right. And we're
the
selling quickly by not necessarily closing and cashing out quickly. They got to wait a little bit, but the deal happens fast, right?
So so that's a good point, because selling equates to most people's head that they get a big check.
Yeah.
This is not what we're talking about. Is removing this from their possession, taking the problem or taking the house away from them so they don't have to have attention on it, and stop them from doing whatever it is that they're trying to do in their next chapter of their life.
Yeah.
Right. So some people are greedy and they just they treat this property as a savings account, and they're just looking for their 30 grand in the savings account, and they want to go to the bank and take it out like it was a Christmas fund, and they want to go buy something with it.
Yep.
Some people are like that. Most people are like that. Right.
Well, you can ask, but you got to be realistic too.
Right. Now, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Vision drives decision. As the late great master of negotiation says, Jim Camp, no vision, no action. No vision, no decision. No vision, no agreement. Now, how do I do this myself? I use past, current, and future vision in the seller's mind. I talk about the past, I talk about right now, and I talk about where we're going to go. And the clearer it is, the easier the deal.
Yeah.
Or the easier for them to get to say no and decide, which I got to get 5 no's. We talked about that. And once I get that, I'm out. I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. This is a bad example. I have this new guy, Will, that I'm training on how to be an acquisition manager, right? Mm-hmm. And he's in the coaching group. And he sent me a deal this morning. And I just, because on Monday night, I just created this new form. It's an offer worksheet, how to make the offers. It's 1-page worksheet on how to make an offer.
Yeah. And
you figure out how to make the offer off this one worksheet. So I'm not bragging about myself or being arrogant. It's pretty cool.
No, it really is.
Yeah.
It has both sides of the story. It has his side and our side and how they could combine.
And they blend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it shows you how to make the offer, right? So he sent me a deal, I guess, last night, because he's in Alaska. He's 4-hour time difference than me. So he sent me a deal, and I responded this morning like, dude, I'm not even going to. He put it on his own. He invented his own forum. And I'm not sure why. So I sent him an email back by saying, send it back to me on my form. Otherwise, I can't look at it.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason why is because he did a bad job of him making an image. He's supposed to be. He's the closing caller.
Mm-hmm.
What he's supposed to be doing, and I'm the deal endorser. Those are the names in our group, right? So what he should be doing is painting this picture of how he sees this transaction going.
You're right. So that you can see it and decide yes or no.
Right.
Okay.
And if he can't do that with me, then how's he going to do that with the seller? And that's what we're going to talk about this afternoon. Because if he's having trouble putting it together in his own mind, how's he going to tell the seller? Which is 99% of the people listening to me right now. They're thinking, well, how do I know how to put this together? Well, that's where you get the bucket of golf balls out and you start swinging. You got to make offers. You got to get on the phone. You got to talk to people. And I'm going to tell you right now, and you don't need to believe me, and you might think I'm trying to sell you something, and I don't even give a shit because it's just the truth. Whether it's me or somebody else, if you don't hire a coach, you will spend years trying to figure this shit out. And I will give somebody free gifts if they can find a podcast that gives away as much information as we give away on this podcast. Just what we're talking about today. This is absolutely 100% advanced coaching material.
Yeah, all the other guys that we used to see more in the old days to learn, they just talked about making tons of calls till they hit the right jackpot.
Right.
You know, like, okay, thank you. And oh yeah, he said yes. 2 days later, no, he decided not to. So it wasn't really closed.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So you want to use past, current, and future vision to make the roadmap. Okay. And every every transaction, the vision of the problem, then the vision of the solution is what brings a deal to agreement. So here's what happens in real estate. I want to make $100,000 a year and quit my job.
Yep.
I want to fire my boss.
Mm-hmm.
That's the solution. Problem never got addressed. How do you do that? So people dive in. Yeah, they get greedy. Yeah, they dive in. I want to make $25,000 on a deal. You did it. I did it. You still do it. I still do it. You get greedy. I want to make $25,000 in one chunk, and you're willing to give your soul to do it. That first deal, right?
Yep.
But it's a progression. It's a natural state. Problem is before solution. Solution is not before problem.
Right.
So problem, then solution, then agreement. Okay, so get what I'm telling you. Past, current, future. Problem, solution, agreement. Past, current, future. Problem, solution, agreement.
All right, let me see if I get this straight, Mr. Hawthorne.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, the person hits a problem, and then he's stuck with it. So a few days later, it's in his past, and he's been dragging it around. And you get on the phone with him, could be a week later, a month later, a few months later, and you're talking to him. You're trying to find out what problem he hit that's smoldering in his head, that if you talk to him today, you might come up with a solution that he'd like to do so you can have an agreement for the future to move forward. Am I close?
You nailed it.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Well, think of it this way. Anybody selling a house has a reason for selling a house, because this is not like eBay, or even it is, you know, I mean, eBay you got to do. You put some product on eBay and then you just like make it go away. This is not like, and that was a bad example. This is not like, oh, I have this piece of furniture, I'm going to put it on the front lawn and put mark free on it and somebody just takes it away. This is not like that. When you're selling a house, there's a lot of shit to do. There's a lot of interruption in your life, especially if you're only doing it once in a lifetime or once every 10 years or 5 years or 3. If you're not doing it for a living, there's a lot of shit to do. You gotta market it. You got to find buyers. You got to accept offers. You got to do contracts. You got to get lawyers. You got to get insurance. You got to do escrow. You got to do taxes. You got to do, oh my God, repairs, mortgage, you know, all this stuff. It's like, there's a lot of shit to do. So when they make a decision to sell a house, do not take that lightly. There is a lot of work for them to get whatever it is they want to get. And whether that's money because it's greed, or it's because they want this blah, blah, blah off their back. And believe me, I've heard a random amount. I've heard as little as, I can't stand cutting the grass every week anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear my wife bitching at me or my husband bitching at me. Or it could be as much as you had probably the most dramatic one. I need to sell the house because my husband is sick and he needs to go in the hospital and we don't have the money. He needs an operation.
Yeah.
Right? So there's the gamut of why people would sell. What I'm telling you is what is emotional to you is not probably emotional to me. My wife slept with my best friend. I want to fuck her as bad as I can. I want to screw her hard. Pardon my French. That's his
real.
emotion.
But
that was
his
real. Emotion. Yeah.
Pardon his language, but that actually, those words and all that actually happened.
Yeah.
This is real.
You know, or my mom and dad passed away and I want this to go to a nice family. Like the house was for us. I grew up in here, I have fond memories. I have pleasurable moments in here. I want somebody else to experience that. Yeah. There's such a gamut of all these things. These are all real life deals that I'm just pulling out of my head.
Yeah.
These are emotions. These are emotions. These are how people feel. Right?
Yeah.
So here's what happens. And I feel like I'm droning on, and I'm going to try to wind this down in a couple of minutes because honestly, I'm going to turn this into probably a half a day seminar because it's so critical. It is so unspoken of. It is so ingrained. If you do this, just like the golf club, it becomes, to me, it's intuition. I just do it. Mm-hmm. And I don't even realize I'm doing it. And now I'm trying to teach it. Right?
Yeah, but I think people are told not to do this. Don't ask questions. It's not polite. Don't probe. You don't, when you buy a house on the market, MLS, you don't know why the person's selling it. You're not supposed to know. It's just a number. Yep. And we're not trained to sit down with unless it's like your best friend, what's going on? How are you? What's happening? What happened last week? You don't look good. What is it?
Exactly.
But how many people even do that?
Exactly.
Really?
All right. So let's get off that for a second because I would like to move on to the next thing that I have attention on with all this.
Okay.
Do not create the problem for the seller. I'll give you $100,000 for your $200,000 house. That's a problem for the seller.
Yeah.
I can only do this, or I'm only because here's what happens. You and I don't have enough time to talk about this today. And if people want to hear more about it, they can send me a support ticket and we'll do another podcast. I'm not sure I want to do a whole podcast on it. But here's what happens. Jim Camp, in his book, he calls it blank slating.
Blank slating?
Right. So think of it as a chalkboard in your mind. When I'm talking to my seller, and you know this because you're going to make a comment, I'm not even going to tell you what it is. You're going to make the comment when we're all done, and you're just going to do this, right? Okay. I don't want to know crap about the deal until I'm sitting in front of the seller. Mm-hmm. Reason why is I don't want to have a preconceived idea of what I want to do or how I want to do it. That's called blank slating. I erase my visions like a chalkboard. I erase it. And I go in with a complete blank slate.
Got it. Yeah.
No preconceived ideas, no any like this is what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it. I have parameters with my math. And it goes and it all comes about basically on the seller's willingness. I just did something that has taken me 21 years to write. 21 years to write. I just wrote scripts for you guys. And I realized I had this huge, oh my God moment. Because I've been writing scripts and had virtual assistants and personal assistants and acquisition managers and rookies and coaching clients. And I have tried to train this and I didn't know this. It's not the script that makes the difference. It's the blueprint of the script. So if I say, do you have a house for sale? And there's a yes or no answer. What do you do after that? What's your reflex? What's your response? Where do you go once they say yes or no? Would you be willing to sell your house for what you owe on it? Is a great question. But what do you do when you hear it? And the way I wrote this new script which I got a lot of help with, does that for you guys. For the first time in 21 years, you can have me, just by reading the questions, me do the call for you. And it's the way I would respond when they say yes or no. And it's actually pretty clever.
Really, Bill, I used it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because before that, it's computerized.
Yeah.
So it takes you to the next question. Because otherwise, when you had it on a piece of paper, there were arrows. If it says this, go over there. If it says that, go over there. And it was like spaghetti on a piece of paper. And it was like, I get lost half the time on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really quite something.
Yeah. And I also made it because one of the reason I started on this script thing, and we use this in the coaching group, and it's not going to go anywhere other than the coaching group because it's just too powerful, right? So the reason why I started it is I was complaining to you. It's like, I listen to these recordings and they ask the question, the seller doesn't answer it. They kind of do what we call Q&A. They go yes, no, maybe.
Question, answer, question, answer,
yeah.
question, answer.
So they don't really answer the question, and the person that's doing the call doesn't come back and get the answer.
Yeah, but they follow the other guy's train of thought. So who's controlling the conversation now?
So what happens now is I made it so even if you did go off on a tangent and had this conversation with them, you can't go to the next question unless you answer this question. And that's made a big difference. Good morning, William Fusco. Hey, JR, I see your question about best process. I will come back to that in a minute, so just hang tight. As soon as we close off here, I'll give you an answer to your question, okay? So here's my point. Do not make a problem with the seller. You're supposed to be solving their problems. And if you do that, you can't have this storyline of past, present, future. It erupts that. It train rails it or derails the train. Right? You can't
say that. You can't do past, present. Say that again.
Yeah. So if you pose a problem, like give them a problem that they're not willing to accept, it derails the train, and you can't do past, present, future. You can't build the storyline.
Yeah.
Right. So now watch this. This is real. There's a lot of stuff in this podcast that's way too profound. I really hesitated on doing this. So there's a crucial difference between seeing something and understanding it.
Absolutely.
And seeing always comes first. If you can't spot the right thing or see it a little bit strange or don't duplicate it correctly, you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Thus, the reason for blank slating. You have to be clean yourself and not have your own opinions, your own ideas. If I was them, what would I do? You can't do that. You have to do your discovery stage 1,000% in their conversation, in their head, feeling their emotions, knowing you have total empathy. You're in their shoes.
Yeah.
Looking at you as if you were them.
I've been in the car with you folks, with Bill, and I have the piece of paper with all the data, and I'm thinking mathematically, this could happen, that could happen. And I think, and he goes, stop. What? I don't want to hear from you. I got to hear from the guy. So I just tell him, like, the address, here's the numbers and how big it is, 3 beds, whatever. Because I think the real answer here is that on the phone before we get there, they probably didn't tell us what's really going on thoroughly.
Yeah.
And
well, you didn't pierce their social veneer.
No, not on the phone.
You
maybe
didn't get into their head enough.
No, maybe you can, maybe you can't on the phone, but just don't assume it until you're really with them in eye to eye or whatever it is to really find out what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole, and I'm actually going to do a seminar on this probably in January, because there's ways to do this. There's actual mechanisms. Yeah. There's actual sentences. It's not that hard when you break it down and you learn how to do it. It will, you want that girl to marry you? This will work. You want that extra piece of toast from your waitress in the morning for your breakfast? This will work. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right. So to end off on a big note, Pete, let's wind down here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot tell anyone anything. You cannot tell anyone anything. Almost 100% of all real estate investors make the fatal mistake of telling a seller something that will convince them to understand. I put in an email because I was testing the email the other day. I put in an email. This is like going to the zoo and standing in the front of the monkey cages and trying to get the monkey to stand on his head. Ain't going to happen. Just not going to. You can't tell the monkey, stand on your head, and he's just going to stand on his head. It doesn't work that way, right? They have to be willing to do it. There has to be a reason for them. I also talk about on my emails, it's like, like you have a dog across the room. Let's say you're in the kitchen. You have a dog across the room, right? And you're like, hey, Fido, come here. And he just looks at you and cocks his head like, what the hell are they doing?
It's my
right?
dog. She will not come. Doesn't care.
So then you resort to like making little, voices, like talking like a baby or however, whatever. And that resorts to you now bending down to their level and trying to entice the dog to come to you, right?
Nope.
You can't tell them anything.
Especially
right?
my dog. Don't care.
How do you get the dog to come to you? It's very simple. Just hold up their favorite treat and they'll come running. So you got to get in the dog's head. What does the dog want? What would motivate the dog? Right?
Yeah.
The problem with this is when trying to continue the problem with this is when you're trying to convince someone to understand what you understand, to know what you know, you're asking the seller to come in your world. You're no longer in their world.
I don't think they care, Bill. No.
The seller doesn't care, no.
No.
And the only place you need to be when structuring a deal is in the seller's world. There's only one person that has to like the deal or do anything about it, and that's the seller.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're in their world, you're not, you're 10xing the offer. When you're not in their world, you're just using math. It's just math. It's just a mathematical process. Yes or no.
Yeah.
Right? Now, listen to this. When you're not in their world, like I'm talking about, and you're trying to convince them to understand what you know, because you came here or you went to some seminar, it's what we call giving a seminar in the house, right? Yeah. When you're in there trying to convince them, oh, this will work for you, this is best for you, this mathematically makes sense, what happens is you're creating a problem for them. You're not in accordance with them. You're not, there's no affinity. Right?
Yep.
The reality,
you're not tracking with them.
Yeah, the reality's off. They don't. Now, I can't saying you can't convince them sooner or later. But here's where the biggest problem lies in. Are you in their reality? Are you in their world? Are you part of them? Are you willing to walk with them side by side through this transaction and help them? Past, present, future. Okay? Which, by the way, I thought I wrote it down and I didn't say it earlier because I thought I wrote it down and evidently I didn't. So think of it this way: when I'm talking about when I'm talking about vision and creating a vision of how the transaction works, you're the author of this story. You're writing how it's going to happen, and you're getting them to believe that it's possible, that this will really benefit them. And the believability factor is the hugest part. Is it real? Can this really happen? Or is this, because nowadays everything's a scam, as most people think, right?
Yeah, but I can imagine that once you actually track with somebody and find out what they're really motivated by, they're going to realize that, geez, the guy is actually sharp. He knows what I'm trying to do. So they got to believe in you. Like he can do that. Maybe he can do other things. If you can't do that, why would they believe you?
I agree with you because I read a book probably 15 years ago. I don't remember the author's name. The name of the book is called The Asking. The asking. He's an older guy. I think he's probably dead now. And I went to a seminar with him. And here's what happened. So he is famous for church donations, getting people to finance churches, to build churches.
Really?
Right. And what he told me, I'm obviously shortcutting it, but what he talked about in the seminar is his statistics, how they surveyed people. So they would do a cycle. We need you to give $10,000, $100,000, $1 million for this church. And they would do this whole cycle of like asking for the donations, right? What they did is they went back with the study and they asked people later that, like right after the cycle, like, what do you remember? The next day, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 2 weeks, a month. And his synopsis at the end was that people that remembered the cycle correctly, the way it really happened, because it was all recorded, right? And they could check it.
Yeah.
Was people that talked, that were allowed to talk, they did most of the talking.
The donor.
The donor, yeah. The person being asked for the money. If they were given the opportunity to talk about them and their things, they remembered the most of that cycle. And they donated the most amount of money.
Wow.
So thus, what the old-time salesman taught me many, many years ago when I was a young boy with rubber boots and an umbrella, okay? You got 2 ears, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Why did the good Lord do that? Because you should listen twice as much as you talk. Which is why these questions that I have are so magnificent and the discovery is so magnificent, because you ask the question and they will build your reality with them. They will give you their visions, because when we're talking, like I'm talking right now, I have visions and I'm sharing them with you. How good of a job am I doing to share them with you is another story. That's what we call communication. How good is my communication? So A, it starts with how well am I able to see my own picture? And B, how well am I willing to communicate it? And C, how much responsibility am I going to take to make sure you understood it? Right? So this is very profound, this podcast. This is for my advanced coaching guys that I'm going to have them go back and listen to this. One of them is on here now listening to it.
Mr. Right? Fusco.
Yeah. So maybe this is not podcast material, but here we go. We're 57 minutes in and we're going to end off and it's done.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, at least it gets people the idea that you should be thinking in these terms. It's not just money. You're not going down to Home Depot to buy the home. You actually have to talk to people. We're talking creative financing. We're not talking just cash.
Yeah.
You know, you can do that, but how many houses can you buy just cash, 20% down or whatever you do? You know, how much can you do like that? What we're talking about is unlimited purchases with creative financing if you reach the person.
Yep. And get to them before a realtor, because most of our deals are like that. All right. So to end off here, here's my final note. This works in probably thousands of books. I'm being facetious. Maybe it's 100, but I think it's a lot of books. You read any book about goals, hitting your goals, becoming wealthy, being free. If you get profound with any of that stuff, they're going to tell you in every one of those books, everyone guaranteed, if they know what they're talking about, everyone, they're going to tell you the clearer your vision, the more likely you are going to hit that goal. Right? So you know that, I know that, we've done this. Right? So my statement here is the clearer the vision of the problem with your seller, the easier the decision process is. So the clearer you could figure out, and you know this because sometimes you talk to somebody and they don't know what their problem is. You have to help them, you have to consult them and help them figure it out. And then when you make that problem like, oh, it's blah in 3 sentences or 1 sentence, they're like, yeah, I never thought of it that way. Bingo. Now you can help them with their decision. Yeah. Now you can build that story. You can author that story on how you're going to go through this deal. Because at the end of the day, Peter, what do they want? They want an offer. How is this going to happen? How are we going to go through this deal? How's it going to happen? When do I do this? And how do I do that? And those are all the questions. You know, what if they don't pay? Or what if the house burns down? Or what if the insurance? They have all these questions. And you have to walk them through what is going to happen. How is this journey going to go down? What is my part? What is my responsibility? When do I get to cut the umbilical cord? And when do I get, all these questions, which you don't need to be trained by somebody like me. They're natural, easy questions. If you just absorb enough information, you'll be able to answer these questions. I'm going to tell you right now, you go to my website, Flipping Houses for Rookies, go on the free stuff page, and you download the lease option explain document that's 5 pages long. If you handwrite that document 10 times, read it into your cell phone, record yourself reading into the cell phone, and listen to it 15 or 20 times, you will have enough information to do everything that we're talking about and answer their questions. You'll have enough information to just get started, and you will learn from there. Mm-hmm. That's the first bucket of golf balls when you're swinging. That's it.
Yep.
Right?
At least duplicate it. Get the copy in your head.
Yeah. So the lack of vision in the seller's head and how a deal should go is not their fault. It's yours. So you as a professional must be the author. It is. The professional must be the author of this real estate transaction. You have to write the book. You have to tell the story. You have to generate those mental image pictures in their head so they're very clear and very believable that it's going to work. And keep them informed on every step, because the most important thing that you can do to lose a deal is to interrupt them. Have something happen they weren't expecting. To have surprises in the deal. Surprises spook people. So just keep them the next 2 or 3 steps. Keep them abreast of what you're doing and how you're doing it, or what to expect. Because the definition, you want to have somebody believe you. The best way to build trust is to match your words to your actions. Peter, I'll be there. I'll be at the coffee shop Thursday afternoon at 2:00 with a bag, a brown paper bag with $5,000 in it. Mm-hmm. And if I show up with a brown bag with a paper bag with $5,000 in it, do you believe me?
Oh, hell yeah!
Do you trust me? So the next time I tell you, Peter, I'll meet you at Burger King, and I got $1,000 this time. You're going to show up, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, that's how you build trust, is your words match your actions. My daughter's 30 years old, married, and got 2 kids. My second daughter's 27 years old and been with her guy for 5 years, and they live together. They still talk about. Matter of fact, we just went to New York before I came to Florida, and in the car while we're driving there, they brought up the day that I sat each one of them down and said to them, okay, here's the deal. You're a little girl and you're pretty. So the boys are going to want to get in your pants. This is all they care about. This is exactly how life works. And here's how you trust someone. And I gave them the lesson. Watch what they do, not what they say. And till this day, they're married and got boyfriends. They still do it. That's why they have the spouses they have, because they watch what they do. They match their words to their actions. It's just natural law.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Not promises.
So good at seeing problems so that you can clarify them and you can help them understand is how we help our sellers. And they really appreciate that, because nobody else is doing that for them. Yeah. Okay. All right, good. So I hope that wasn't too profound, everybody. Please leave some comments or reviews. Give us, whatever stars you think, good or bad. Send a support ticket if you have any questions. In the chat is a link if you want to do a free 45-minute consultation with me. There's no tricks or anything like that. It's like, if I can help you, that's fine. If you want to know about this new apprenticeship program, I'll gladly explain it to you. It is by far the hottest coaching real estate program on the planet. I mean, and I just stumbled into it, right? So just to answer some questions, JR is asking, what is the best process in understanding the condition and upkeep of the different types of small houses at first first-time owner might be interested in? I'm not sure I understand that, Peter. How about you? What is the best process in understanding the condition and upkeep of the different types of small house a first-time owner? So what you could do is you can go on to Zillow.com / I think it's house hyphen value. And Zillow has a pretty good market analysis tool of what the houses are, what they're worth, the conditions, if the condition of the market, the condition of the house. I would start there, JR, and see if that helps you with your question. If that doesn't resolve for you, just go to Flipping Houses for Rookies, top right-hand side, send me a support ticket, and I will gladly help you with the question if I didn't answer it. I appreciate you being here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say put in your support ticket why you're asking the question. Is there a reason for that? Did something happen? What are you really looking for? Because I don't think we get that deep into it.
Yeah.
I don't think we're worried about
it. And then
that much.
Jefferson, thank you for the kind words. He says good words. Thank you for that. And of course, anybody else that's listening to us, thank you so much for your support. All the things you guys do for us and listening to us and going on my website. And there's a bunch of free stuff on there. If you go to Flipping Houses for Rookies, free stuff, .com free stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there. There's actually recently, about a month ago, I changed the website and there's a new course on there. It's a 14-day email course and it walks you through step by step how to do a deal, how to find it, how to buy it. I give you paperwork. I give you documents. I give you paperwork. I show you where to get them. I show you where you can get legal advice for $25 a month in your backyard so you can get somebody to review documents. I show you how to find buyers. I show you how to find sellers. I show you all that stuff. And it's one of the, I did it right after I was ill. And I just kind of like popped out and I'm like, I woke up one morning, I'm going to write this. And I did it like in a day and a half. And it's been one of the best compliments I've ever gotten of my writing skills and my real estate deals put together. So it's on the front page of flippinghousesforrookies.com. So just go there and grab it. Okay. I got a boogie. I had a 10:15 appointment and it's now 10:18. So I'm going to end off. Thank you again for being here and we'll talk next week. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.